Welcome everyone. My name is Marangelo de Rivera. Today, we're diving into a fascinating world of ethics, the study of what it means to live a good life and make morally sound decisions. Ethics isn't just a set of rules, it's a way of thinking critically about our values and the implication of our actions. Well, explore different ethical theories such as utilitarianism, deontology, and virtue ethics, and apply these frameworks to real-life dilemmas. As we engage in discussion, I encourage you to think about your own beliefs and the reason behind them. Remember, ethics challenges us to question, reflect, and grow. Let's embark this journey together. Before we proceed to our topic, do you have any idea or clue to our topic of forms of ethics? If you have no idea, let's proceed to our topic. Forms of ethics. Ethics is the study of what is right and wrong, guiding how individuals and societies determine moral principles and values or key concepts. These are some parts of ethics. In all times and claims. Ethical claims are not simplified, descriptive claims about the world. Ethical claims are evaluative or normative. When we make evaluative judgment, we attempt to state not what is the case, as we do with descriptive claims, but rather what should be the case and how the world can be better. Descriptive claims generally state facts about the world. Whether the claim is true or false is an empirical question. Ethical claims, on the other hand, makes evaluative statement. 2. It is the case, the truth of empirical statement verse. On ethical statement, it is only the case the greenhouse gas emissions should be minimized if it is indeed true that greenhouse gas emissions contribute to a global climate change. Descriptive claims. B. Distinguished from normative claims. Merely making descriptive claims does not in itself lead to any ethical conclusion. Testimony or appeals to authority come into main types: eyewitness and expert. Eyewitness or first-hand testimonies are reports from people who directly experience some phenomenon. If a speaker is arguing about toxic waste dumps, a quotation from someone living next to a dump would fall into this category. First-hand testimony can help give the audience a sense of being there. Experts may also rely on their experience, but their testimony is also backed by more formal knowledge methods and training supplementing the neighbor accounts with testimony from an environmental scientist who specializes in toxic waste sites is an appeal to expertise. When using testimony in arguments, you should always make sure the authority you are appealing to is in fact qualified to speak on the topic being discussed. Parts of ethics. Normative ethics. The first one is consequentialism. The second one is deontology. The third one is virtue ethics. Normative ethics is also known definition. Normative ethics is the branch of ethics concerned with establishing what is right and wrong, guiding moral conduct and principles. It seeks to provide a framework for evaluating actions and determining moral duties, often through theories like utilitarianism, deontology, and virtue ethics. The definition of consequentialism is this theory evaluates actions based on their outcomes. The most well-known form is utilitarianism, which advocates for action that maximize overall happiness or well-being. Key figures include Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill. They argue that the moral value of an action is determined by its contribution to overall utility. The second one, definition, deontology. Deontology is also known. This approach largely attributed to Immanuel Kant asserts that actions are morally right based on adherence to rules or duties. Kant proposed the categorical imperative, which suggests that one should act only according to maxims that could be universalized. In other words, if an action can be universally applied without contradiction, it's considered immoral. The last part, where virtue ethics. Virtue ethics rooted in the philosophy of Aristotle. Virtue ethics emphasizes the character and virtues of the moral agent rather than specific actions. It suggests that cultivating virtuous traits like courage, honesty, and compassion leads to good life. The focus is on what it means to be a good person.
Go.
Here are the second part of ethics, applied ethics. We have parts of medical ethics, business ethics, and environmental ethics. The applied ethics is the practical applications of moral principles to specific issues and fields. Medical ethics definition for me is this area deals with dilemmas in healthcare, including patient autonomy, informed consent, end-of-life decision, and the ethics of medical research often revolves around principles like beneficence, doing good, and non-maleficence, not harming, autonomy, and justice. The next one is business ethics. This examines ethical issues in the corporate world, including fair labor practices, corporate social responsibility, and ethical marketing. Key concerns include transparency, honesty, and the impact of business decisions on stakeholders. The last part is environmental ethics. This field explores the moral relationship between humans and the environment. It addresses issues like conservation, sustainability, animal rights, and climate change. Philosophers like Aldo Leopold advocate for a land ethic that recognizes the intrinsic value of natural world. The next one is meta-ethics. Meta-ethics explore the natures of moral judgment and ethical statement. Moral realism versus moral anti-realism. Meta-ethics investigates the nature, origins, and meaning of ethical principles. Here are some parts of meta-ethics. Moral relativism versus moral absolutism. Here are the definition of moral realism versus moral anti-realism. Moral realists argue that there are objective moral truths, while moral anti-realists deny this, suggesting that moral values are constructive or subjective. The next one is, sorry I didn't write about cognitivism versus non-cognitivism. Here are the cognitivism and non-cognitivism in my cell phone. Cognitivist believes moral statements express beliefs that can be true or false, while non-cognitivists view them as expressions of emotional responses or attitudes. The next one is moral relativism versus moral absolutism. The next one is moral relativism versus moral absolutism. Here are the definition of moral relativism and moral absolutism. This debate centers on whether moral truths are universal or cultural dependent. The moral relativism, this perspective suggests that moral judgment and ethical standards are shaped by cultural context, meaning that what is considered right in one society may not be in another. Critics argue this can lead to moral paralysis.
Pasok.
Moral absolutism. In contrast, this view posits that some moral principles apply universally regardless of cultural differences. This could include basic human rights or prohibitions against harm. Relativism argues that moral standards. Absolutism holds that certain moral principles are universally applicable. Okay, we proceed. The key ethical theories. Utilitarianism advocates for action that maximize happiness for the greatest numbers. The next one is Kantian ethics. Maximize happiness for the greatest numbers. Critics argue it can justify harmful actions if they produce a greater good, raising concerns about individual rights. The next one is Kantian ethics. Focuses on duty and the principles of treating individuals as ends themselves, not means to an end. Kantian ethics focuses on duty and intentions behind actions rather than outcomes. Critics often find it to breed especially complex moral dilemmas where rules conflict. The next one is social contract theory. Social contract theory, thinkers like Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Jean-Jacques argue that moral and political obligation arise from an implicit agreement among individuals to form a society. This theory explores the legitimacy of authority and individual rights. Suggests moral and political obligations arise from agreement among individuals. Before we proceed to our topic, I have some question for you class. This is my question about important of ethical question. What is the right action? My question is, the first one is, what is the right action? The second one, what makes a person morally good? The third one is, are moral values universal or subjective? If you have an answer, for your answers, I'll be back later. Okay, let's proceed to our topic of contemporary issues in ethics. First one parts of contemporary issues in ethics is artificial intelligence in ethics. The definition of proceed to our topic. Contemporary issues in ethics. The first one is artificial intelligence in ethics. The second one is biotics and genetic engineering. The third, last, social justice and equality. Contemporary issues in ethics. Modern ethical dilemmas are increasingly complex and multifaceted. Artificial intelligence and ethics issues include algorithmic bias, privacy concerns, and the implication of AI in decision-making processes. The next one is biotics and genetic engineering. This encompasses debates over gene editing, cloning, and the moral implication of manipulating life. The last one is social justice and equity. Ethical discussions around systemic inequality, discriminations, and the moral responsibility of individuals and institutions to address these issues. Okay, let's proceed about foundation of ethics. Ethics is a system of standards to motivate, determine, and justify action taken in the pursuit of vital and fundamental goals. Ethics is a system of standards. Vital goals are those that are concerned with the preservation and enhancement of life. Vital goals are similar for most people. We desire to eat, we have the need to breathe, and to grow. Fundamental goals. Fundamental goals are those that promote the essence of what it is to be human and what it is to be specific individual. Our fundamental goals are those devoted to using our resources to achieve our optimal individual potential as human beings. These goals vary to a greater extent. For example, one person may have the desire to regain his ability to walk, whereas another may prefer to use his time and strength. In another way, a patient is one who has lost his ability to pursue his vital and fundamental goals on his own.
Go.
Scope and meaning. Abiding by the law may keep you from going to jail, but it does not necessarily follow that the reverse is also true. Breaking a law, for example, through civil, but you may have acted ethically. Ethics is a series of beliefs and principles held by a person or group about how to determine which human interactions they believe are right or wrong. These core beliefs are often interconnected and overlap with other value system, religious view, legal system, philosophies, social. The next one is the various definition of ethics.
Nakasan mo.
The discipline concerned with what is morally good and bad, and morally right and wrong. The term is also applied to any system or theory of moral values or principles. These terms, ethics and morality, are closely related. It is now common to refer to ethical judgment or to ethical principles, where it once would have been more accurate to speak a moral judgment and moral principles. These applications are an extension of the meaning of ethics. In earlier usage, the term referred not to morality itself but to the field of study or branch of inquiry that has morality as its subject matter. In this sense, ethics is equivalent to moral philosophy. The next one is the relation of ethics. The next one is relation of ethics with other. Is the study of correct actions or doing well. Logic studies the process of correct organized thinking. Logic therefore is aimed at the right thinking, and ethics is aimed at the right acting or right doing and behavior based on perceiving information, ethics focuses first and foremost on the demands of the subjective human world or world of people and relationships. In communication, ethics focuses and studies people feelings and emotional states based on nonverbal information and how things are said. Logic is focused on the demands of the material non-human world or world of things in one's environment. In communication, logic focuses on and studies what is done and said or the next one is some fundamental concept of ethics. It's about studying the right and the good. Morally is about acting as one should. This traditional approach to professionalism in dentistry is based on a theory of biomedical ethics advanced 30 years ago, known as the principles approach. General ideals such as respect for autonomy, non-maleficence, beneficence, justice, and veracity are offered as guides. Growth in professionalism consists in learning to interpret the application of these principles as one peers do. Moral behavior is conceived as continuous cycle of sensitivity to situation requiring moral response, moral reasoning, the moral courage to take. Ethics makes clear to us why one act is better than in another. Ethics contributes an orderly social life by providing humanity some basis for agreement, understanding some principles or rules of procedure. The importance of ethics. Most of us would agree that it is ethics in practice that makes sense, just having it carefully drafted and redrafted. For that to happen, organizations need to abide by ethics or rule of law, engage themselves in fair practices and competition, all of which will benefit the consumer, the society, and organizations. Primarily, it is the individual, the consumer, the employee, or the human social unit of the society who benefits from ethics. In addition, ethics is important because of the following: satisfying basic human needs, being fair, honest, and ethical is one the basic human needs. Every employee desires to be such himself and to work for an organization that is fair and ethical in its practices, creating credibility. An organization that is believed to be driven by moral values is respected in the society, even by those who may have no information about the working in the businesses or organization. Infosys, for example, is perceived as an organization for good corporate governance and social responsibilities initiatives. This perception is held far and wide even by those who do not even know what businesses the organization is into.
Go.
The next one is uniting people in leadership. An organization driven by values is revered by its employees also. They are the common thread that brings the employees and the decision makers on a common platform. This goes along why in aligning behaviors within the organizations toward achievement of one common goal or missions. A man's destiny is the sum total of all the decision that he or she takes in course of his life. The same holds true for organizations. Decisions are driven by values. For example, an organization that does not follow competition will be fierce in its operations, aiming to wipe out its competitors and establish. Okay, next, the two fundamental questions for many of us. The fundamental questions of ethics. What should I do? How should I act? Questions for many of us. Ethics is supposed to provide us with moral principles or universal rules that tell us what to do. Many people, for example, read passionate adherence of the moral principle utilitarianism. Everyone is obligated to do whatever will achieve the greatest good for the greatest number. Others are just as devoted to the basic principle of Immanuel Kant. Everyone is obligated to act only ways that respect the human dignity, moral rights of all persons. But our moral principles, all that ethics consists of, critics have rightly claimed that this emphasis on moral principles mark of a thoughtless and slavish worship of rules, as if the moral life was a matter of scrupulously checking our every action against a table of do's and don'ts. Fortunately, this obsession with principles and rules has been recently challenged by several ethicists who argue the emphasis of principle ignores a fundamental component of ethics, virtue. These ethicists point out that by focusing on what people should do or how people should act, the moral principles approach neglects the more important issues, what people should be. In other words, the fundamental question of ethics is not what should I do, but what kind of person should I be. Virtue are habits that is once they are acquired, they become characteristic of a person. For example, a person who has developed the virtue of generosity is often referred to as a generous person because he or she tends to be generous in all circumstances. Moreover, a person who has developed virtues will be naturally disposed to act in ways that are consistent with moral principles. The virtuous person is the ethical person. At the heart of the virtue of approach to ethics is the idea of community, developed in isolation but within and by the communities to which he or she belongs, including family, church, school, and other private and public associations. As people grow and mature, their personalities are deeply affected by the values that their communities prize, by the personality traits that their communities encourage, and by the role models that their communities put forth for imitation through traditional stories, fictions, movies, televisions, and so on. The virtue approach urges us to pay attention the contours of our communities and the habits of character they encourage and still. Of morality. Hinduism, utilitarianism, moral rationalism, moral positivism, moral evolution, moral cynicism, and communism. The definition of Hinduism is: it is an ethical theory which holds that the supreme end of man consists in the acquisitions of pleasure. Sensible pleasure are the highest good of life. The next one is utilitarianism. The utilitarianism is a theory very much akin to hedonism. This norm of morality holds that action are the right proportion as they tend to promote happiness, wrong as they tend to produce unhappiness. It makes utility the norm of morality. The goodness and or badness of an action would depend on the effects or consequence of the action. Relationalism is Immanuel Kant is a theory which maintains that all knowledge and all truths are derived from human's reason. Human's reason, therefore, is the source of all truths, all laws, and all principles. Human reasons is the source of all moral laws and all moral obligation. Reason's command and the commands of reasons are absolute and unconditional, absolute, binding on all men of all times. Categorical imperative. The next one is moral positivism. The definition of moral positivism is this theory holds that the basic source of moral laws is the laws of the state. Good is that which is accordance with the laws of the state. Bad is that which is forbidden by the state. The moral evolutionism. The command of reason is categorical and all are obliged to obey. It's our moral duty to obey. Unconditionally, duty is the very root test and the mainspring of all morally good acts. All that is moral is motivated by pure sense of duty, by pure reverence of the law. The next one is moral cynicism. It's an ethical theory which holds that man is endowed with a special moral sense other than reason, by virtue of which man distinguishes between right and wrong. The basis source of morality is man's senses, what persons feel about the human act. The last one is communism. Communism, its moral philosophy, is the logical consequence of metaphysics or view of reality known as dialectic materialism. According to this theory, matter is the one reality, the sole entity, or matter is in constant flux or motion, in this accounts for all the events, motion, and change in the universe. So that's all phenomena of nature, all history, are nothing else but the manifestation of this dialectic process inherent in the nature of all things, matter. Let's proceed to second to last our topic, ethics and law. The rule of law is expressed by codified legal standards. In the United States and the most other democracies, law spells out how we will govern ourselves. Over centuries, laws have evolved based on commonly understood societal concept of right and wrong. Even in the present, the law is evolving to reflect not only our history but also current ideas of how we run to be governed, knowing we can depend on the law provides stability for the country and for ourselves. So, what is ethics? Ethics is the area of philosophical studies that examines values, action, and choices to determine what is right and wrong. Core principles that have been foundational for ethical behavior were established millennia ago by the great philosopher Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates. In the 4th century DC, they define ethics as the science of morals. Ethics lays down the principles of human behavior. For example, we can debate the principle of the greatest good and the greatest number. Should this sweet little girl be given heart transplant even though many others are ahead of the list? Ethics constitutes moral principles and values are related more to individuals' personal set of standards. Okay, let's proceed to our topic of moral philosophy of democracy. Philosophical problems connected with democracy relate both to its nature and its value. It might seem obvious that democracy has value because it promotes liberty and equality. As compared with, for example, dictatorship. Everyone has equal political power and it's free from control by a special individual or group. However, at least on the voting conception of democracy, it is the majority who have the control. This means that the minority may not be thought to be treated equally and they lack liberty in the sense that they are controlled by the majority. Another objection to democracy is that by counting everyone's opinions as of equal value, it considers the ignorant is the democracy that by counting everyone's opinions to equal values, it considers the ignorant as being as important as the knowledgeable, and so does that not result in properly informed decisions. However, voting may in certain circumstances be the right way of achieving knowledge. Pooling opinions may lead to better group judgment. These difficulties with democracy are alleviated by the model which concentrates on mutual discussions rather than people just filling opinions into a voting mechanism. Opinions should in such circumstance be better formed. Individuals are more obviously equally respected. However, this depends upon them starting from position of equal power and liberty. Okay class, we were done about the topic of ethics and now we will back the answer of this question, the important ethical question. Here's the answer of all questions. The first one is, what is the right action? The answer is this seeks to determine the best course of action in given situation. The next one is, what makes a person morally good? This explores the qualities that constitute moral character. And the third one and last are moral values, universal or subjective. This fundamental question challenges the basis of moral judgment across cultures. One of the best lessons in ethics is the principle of empathy. Understanding and considering the perspective and feelings of others. This lesson emphasizes that our actions impact those around us and encourages us to make choices that promote compassion and fairness. By fostering empathy, we can navigate moral dilemmas more thoughtfully and create a more just society.
Go.
In a world filled with complex choices, the ultimate challenge lies in applying ethical principles to our daily lives. Let us carry forward the insights gained today, striving to make decisions that reflect integrity and contribute to the greater good. And once again, my name is Mar Angelo V. Rivera. Have a nice and a great day ahead for each of you.